My wife and I are long distance. She works abroad. I take care of our sons, 4 and 3, and do odd jobs. Originally we lived with her, but our kids ended up put in a dangerous situation and I didn't want that to happen again. Quitting her job wasn't an option in her eyes, so I moved to our home country with the kids while she stayed. She visits us a few times a year. I moved in with close family friends. It was a hard and painful decision. I had a lot of resentment over my wife prioritizing her job over our family. But I love her. I couldn't imagine not being with her. I thought about divorce, but we decided to try to work things out. The other woman was my friend when we were little kids. After my mother died, I left my hometown and moved in with my dad and didn't see that friend. But I stayed connected with some other people from that town throughout my life, and when I moved back home with the kids I started visiting my hometown more. To see my mom's grave and visit my old neighbors. When I met my old friend again, I was excited to see her, but I'm nostalgic for everything from my childhood. It started out innocent. I was just happy to have another connection to that part of my life. Anyway, she has a son too who is 6, and so we ended up taking our kids to the park together while we had a coffee and caught up. It was innocent, and I told my wife I'd reconnected with her, and my wife was fine with it. She jokingly asked if she should be jealous, but she didn't mean it. She trusted me. So I feel so terrible. We met up a couple times a month from then on. I don't really know when it lost its innocence. But I realized I started becoming infatuated with her. We'd hug every time we met up and before we left, and I would feel so wistful when she would hug me. She would start talking about how her ex mistreated her and her son, and I felt so protective. She started King comments like, "My son is so good with your sons, it's like they are brothers." And I talked to her about some of the stuff that bothered me about my relationship with my wife, and she sympathized. I realized that I enjoyed the attention, and I found myself entertaining fantasies that I was with her instead. I kept thinking about if I had never met my wife and had instead moved back home and reconnected with my old friend, and we'd somehow had our same kids only with each other, we both could have been happy and been spared so much pain. If I'm trying to be objective, she's a better match for me than my wife. She puts her kids first. She appreciates me for who I am. My wife does too, but I feel like me and the kids are always an afterthought for her. Even when she's home and spending time with us, she is always thinking about her job. My wife is a good person and she does good work. But her job traumatizes her, and she was already traumatized before she started it. She started doing her job to cope with her past, but she's also re-traumatizing herself over and over. And my kids and I pay the price. I'm not trying to justify my actions, I'm just trying to explain. My childhood friend was always complimenting me on my looks, how good of a dad I am, my physical strength. It's like she appreciated the unique things about me. And I feel like my wife loved me just because I was there for her. Like she would have loved anyone who loved her, and I was just the only one who did. It wasn't always like that, but that's how it started to eventually feel, with my wife being so distracted by her job all the time. I didn't really notice it until I reconnected with my friend and noticed the contrast. I should not have let things get that far, I know. But at first it was just an occasional thought, and I just brushed it off as intrusive thoughts and telling myself, yeah, everyone has inappropriate thoughts, but what matters is your actions. But I just let it go too far. In hindsight, some of our friendly banter was really more like flirting, and it was not appropriate. That's an action, not a thought. Anyway, today was a reality check. She said she wanted to talk to me about something serious without the kids there, so I let my other friend who I live with babysit and met up with her. And she basically confronted me with the fact that we obviously have feelings for each other and said I should leave my wife for her. But it was like immediately I realized the amount of bullshit I was feeding myself and her. I instantly felt so bad. I didn't deny having feelings, but maybe I should have. She kept insisting I think it over, and when she saw how upset I was, she said she'd let me think it over, then left. I should have told her, no, there is nothing to think over, I love my wife and I'm not leaving her. But I didn't say anything. That in itself is weighing on me. I need to tell my wife. I know. I just don't even know where to begin. Next time she's coming home is October. I feel like this is the kind of thing to say face to face, but I don't want to wait that long. And I don't want her to come all this way to have a nice time and ruin it. I could leave the kids with my friends and go visit her. But on top of the money issues and logistical issues, even the thought makes me sick. I keep imagining her smiling and being delighted to see me, and then how devastated she's going to be when I tell her. I can't stop thinking about her face. I feel sick. I don't want to tell her at all and just never see my childhood friend again. I'm also mad at myself for letting my stupid fantasies ruin a friendship and a precious memory, but I know it would be wrong to keep seeing her and impossible to just be normal friends now, but I know honesty is the best policy. I owe it to her to be honest. I just don't know what to do. I feel so wrong and stupid. I don't want to tell my friends. I think one of them would be really angry at me for almost cheating, and the other might actually encourage me to leave my wife. I feel like I need someone to tell me what to do because I can't process. Edit. Tomorrow I'm going to talk to my friends about what's going on and, after being yelled at, probably see if they'll be able to watch my kids while I visit my wife and tell her what's going on. If not, I can probably ask a few other people. If not, then I'll just tell her over Zoom. I'm also going to text my childhood friend that I don't want to see her again and then block her. I'm not going to leave my wife. If she leaves me, I'm going to stay single. I'm not going to date my ex-friend. I will always love my wife and I don't think it would be fair to anyone for me to date anyone else while I still love her. To stop from having to answer the same questions over and over, my wife is an aid worker. She doesn't do it for the money. She does it because she believes God called her to do it. I do gig jobs and sometimes construction. I choose to work more flexibly and spend more time with my kids. I put my wife through college. I'm not freeloading off her, I am kind of freeloading off the friend I live with, I'll admit that. But we're all happy with this arrangement. The reason I left with the kids is because we got carjacked at gunpoint. My wife changes location a lot, so living somewhere safe but still closer to her isn't really an option. It's either travel with her officially through her organization, or stay put somewhere. I don't think my childhood friend originally intended to cheat with me, but I guess it doesn't matter anymore. Edit 2. Everyone telling me to get a stable job so my wife can come home. You misunderstand. You think my wife and I haven't spoken about this? She is never going to quit her job. She made that very clear. Her job is her priority. I promise you she's not doing it for the money. I'm not forcing her to do it by refusing to work more. If she said she would even consider quitting if I found a more stable job, I'd do that in a heartbeat. Anyway, I talked stuff over with my friends. They were understanding. The plan is to fly over and see my wife next week-ish, but we still have to make arrangements. I thought about contacting my wife's boss to see if we could do a surprise visit, but it seems like it would be so cruel to show up and surprise her and make her happy to see me only to break her heart. So instead I called my wife saying everyone is okay, but I have something bad to tell her that she should hear in person, and I'm going to fly out to see her. She said I should just tell her because otherwise she's going to worry about it the whole time. So I almost did. But then she said, no, don't tell me. I want to see you. So I didn't. Update 1. I wasn't thinking very straight at the time, and I don't think I thanked everyone properly, but it was very kind of you to take the time to share your perspective. The other thing. I should have said something at the time, but a lot of people bashed my wife and I didn't defend her as much as I should have. So I'm gonna set the record straight now. First of all, people were saying she was cheating on me. But she would never, ever do that. She is honest and loyal, and a much better person than I am. Second, people were saying my wife is negligent and doesn't care about me or our kids. This is also wrong. She's very loving. Yes, she is busy with her job. But she says she thinks about us every moment. And when she is home she spends as much time with me and the kids as she can. She does get distracted and think about things at work that stress her out, but that's because she sees things that get to her. It's not because she doesn't care about us. She's not like half the parents out there that ignore their kids because they're distracted by their phone. People were also bashing me in a way that I think was kind of over the top, but honestly, you can bash me, but don't bash my wife. Me having problems in my relationship doesn't mean she deserves to be bashed.
D. I actually showed the post to my best friend, and she pointed out that a lot of you were probably just being sexist.
You attacked my wife and said she didn't care about me or our kids because she doesn't get to see us much. But my friend pointed out that there are a lot of jobs that mostly men do that mean they don't get to see the kids much, and no one says that they don't love their kids and need to quit. So for everyone who said my wife doesn't love our kids, would you say the same to dads who are in the military, truck drivers, work on oil rigs? Would you say that they're all definitely cheating on their wives? Or tell their wives that they should leave them? If not, you're being sexist. And for everyone who told me to get a better job so my wife can come home, would you say that to a woman who is married to a guy who does one of those jobs? For everyone saying me and my wife shouldn't be married or have kids because she's an aid worker, do you think there shouldn't be any aid workers? Or do you think no aid worker should be allowed to get married and have kids just because of their job? You realize a lot less people would be aid workers if it meant they couldn't have a family, right? You don't make any sense. Anyway, I saw my wife and told her everything, and we actually had a nice visit. She was glad to see me in spite of everything. And she insisted I not tell her anything bad until after she showed me something. Which was confusing to me, but I agreed. Anyway, it was a little waterfall. And it was beautiful. She said she visited the waterfall whenever she got a chance and it reminded her of me, and she wished she could show it to me every time. I nearly cried when she said that. I almost couldn't even tell her after that, but I already told her I was going to tell her something bad, so I had to. Anyway, we sat there by for a while until she said she was ready to hear my bad news. So, as much as it killed me, I told her everything that happened. She tried to be calm and understanding, but I could tell she was hurt. I almost wished she would have yelled and slapped me. But she just thanked me for being honest. She asked what I was going to do. I said I wasn't going to stay in touch with my former friend either way, but I hoped she would forgive me and come home to us in October like she planned. She said I was already forgiven and asked me for more details about what exactly happened and my feelings, which I did my best to answer honestly. It was hard though. I could tell she was getting more and more upset. Eventually she just said okay and we walked back to her base without really talking at all. That night we talked more. She knows it's hard for me to live the way we do, and she just asked me again if I was sure I still wanted to be with her. I told her I knew she wasn't going to quit her job, but I talked about how one of the hardest things is that even when she comes home, her mind is on her job and it's hard to see how sad and stressed she always is. She said she'd bring it up in therapy and try to work on being present in the moment with her family. She kept pressing me on if there was anything else she could do better besides quit her job, and I told her how I felt about how sometimes it seems like she only loves me because I love her, and I could be anyone. She cried, apologized, said it's not true, and told me as many specific things she could think of that she loves about me. I did the same for her. She said she was glad we talked and glad I was willing to keep working on our marriage, because from the beginning when I told her I had something bad to tell her in person she just assumed I wanted a divorce. She said she's always worrying I'm going to leave her, but she's grateful for every day I don't. I promised her I don't plan to and told her I worry the same thing sometimes. It was a really good conversation. The other days, I went to her job site with her for a bit and helped out with a few things. Hello, Cal kids were teasing my wife about me, which was adorable. Things aren't perfect, but they're going to be okay. Also, I know a lot of people said that my wife should leave me because what I did was as bad as a physical affair. And, confusingly, a lot of people said I did nothing wrong. I think it's somewhere in between. I did something wrong, but I did stop it before it got that far. And a lot of other people say I should divorce my wife. But I'm not divorcing her. She has her flaws, but she's also one of the best people I know. All of her flaws are because she's been through things that I can't even imagine. I chose to love her in spite of the things she can't give me. I will always love her. Now on to second story. Found my biological mother through a DNA test, but now she's withholding my medical history unless I meet her in person. I'm a 24 male who was adopted when I was 6 years old. I've always felt incredibly lucky because my adoptive parents, who were in their late 20s when they took me in, have been nothing short of amazing. They've loved and supported me as if I were their own flesh and blood, and I've never felt like anything was missing in my life because of being adopted. Growing up, I had very minimal details about my adoption. I know that I was removed from my biological family by social services due to neglect and abuse, but I don't remember anything about my life before I was adopted. It's not something I've dwelled on much because I've never felt like I needed those missing pieces to feel complete or valued. Recently, out of simple curiosity, I decided to sign up for one of those at-home DNA testing kits. I wasn't looking for a reunion or any deep connection. I just wanted to know more about my genetic history, like why I was removed from my biological family, and if there were any medical issues I should be aware of. Honestly, I didn't expect to find anyone closely related to me, so it felt like a low-stakes way to get some answers. About height weeks after sending off the kit, I finally remembered to check the results, and to my surprise, I matched with my biological mother, BM. She had sent me a message saying she was overjoyed that I had done the test and that she desperately wanted to reconnect with me and the rest of my biological family. She mentioned that she's thought of me every day, that I was always loved, and even that I have a biological little brother who is very excited to meet me, something I didn't even know. Her message was really emotional and, to be honest, overwhelming. To me, she's a complete stranger, and reading those words didn't stir anything in me other than discomfort. I spent a lot of time crafting a thoughtful response to BM, explaining that while I appreciated her message, I wasn't interested in forming a relationship with her or any of my biological family. I made it clear that my reason for doing the DNA test was purely informational. I wanted to understand my past, maybe get some medical history, and learn why I was removed, but that was it. I apologized if my actions gave her the wrong impression. BM read my message and replied, saying that she'd be willing to give me all the information I wanted, but only if I agreed to meet her at a cafe to discuss our relationship further. I refused, telling her that I wasn't comfortable with a face-to-face meeting. I offered a phone call as a compromise but emphasized that I just wanted the information and then for both of us to move on with our lives. She outright refused to provide any information unless I agreed to meet with her in person and discuss our relationship. I talked to my best friend about this, and she sided with BM, saying that I was being unfair. She argued that by signing up for the DNA site, I had essentially opened the door to this kind of situation and that refusing to meet with BM now is like playing mind games and leading them on. Update 1. I decided to talk to my biological mom again, hoping that maybe if I explained myself better, she'd understand where I was coming from. Unfortunately, things went downhill fast. Instead of trying to meet me halfway, she just got more manipulative, insisting that I was being selfish for not wanting to meet her in person. She refused to give me any information unless I agreed to her terms, which was a hard no from me. I've come to realize that I was pretty naive to think that my biological family might be decent people after everything. I mean, I was removed from their care for a reason, but I guess a part of me wanted to believe that people can change. Looking back, I feel kind of dumb for even starting this whole journey. It's brought up a lot of emotions that I wasn't really prepared to deal with, and to be honest, I'm feeling pretty down about the whole situation. And as for my best friend, well, that's another disappointment. She didn't just side with my biological mom initially, she's been unsupportive throughout this whole mess. Even after I told her about the latest conversation, she couldn't really understand why I was so upset. She kept saying that I should just give them a chance and not be so harsh. It's like she doesn't get how hard this is for me, and I'm starting to feel like she never really did. It's tough because I've always considered her one of my closest friends, but right now, I'm not sure she's someone I can rely on. After all this, I decided to sit down with my adoptive parents and talk everything over with them. I hadn't really opened up to them about how deep this was affecting me, but they were amazing, as always. They were upset when they heard how my biological mom was acting, and they reassured me that none of this is my fault. They reminded me that there's a reason I was removed from that situation, and it's not on me to fix it or make things right with people who've clearly not changed. Talking with them made me realize just how lucky I am to have them. They've been there for me every step of the way, and they made it clear that whatever happens, they're my real family, the ones who've loved and supported me no matter what. It's hard not to feel down after everything that's happened, but having them in my corner makes it a bit easier to cope. Honestly, I regret even starting this whole DNA journey. It's brought up more pain than I expected, and I can't help but wish I'd just left the past where it belongs. But at the same time, I'm grateful that it's reminded me of how blessed I am to have my adoptive parents. They're the ones who've always been there for me, and I couldn't ask for a better family. So, that's where I'm at. I'm going to focus on the people who truly care about me and let go of the rest. It's not easy, but I know I'm on the right path. Update 2. Hey everyone, I've been thinking a lot about my family today, especially after everything that's been going on lately. It got me reminiscing about some of the best moments I've had with them, and there's one memory that stands out, something from when I was still a kid that I'll never forget. I must have been about 8 years old, just a couple of years after I was adopted. It was around Christmas time, and I remember feeling nervous because it was only my second Christmas with my adoptive parents. Holidays always make me feel weird, even now. Anyway, my dad's friend owned a Christmas tree farm, and that year, my mom and dad decided to take me to pick our Christmas tree. We spent what felt like hours walking through rows and rows of trees. My parents kept asking me which one I liked best, and I remember feeling so much pressure, like I had to pick the absolute best one or else I'd ruin Christmas. But they were so patient, letting me take my time. Finally, I pointed out a tree. Honestly, it looked like every other one to me, but my parents made a huge deal out of it. My dad knelt down to start sawing, and I remember him pretending to struggle, saying, "Oh no, I think this tree might be too strong for me." My dad made me come over and help me, saying he couldn't do it alone. So, there I was, this little 8-yo, pretending to help my dad saw down this tree. Of course, I wasn't actually doing anything, but they made me feel like I was the strongest kid in the world. When the tree finally fell, my dad swept me up in his arms and spun me around, saying, "We did it." After we got home and set up the tree, my mom brought out these old boxes full of ornaments. She told me that we were going to start a new tradition. Every year, we'd each pick out one new ornament to add to the tree, something that represented something special from that year. That night, they handed me my very first ornament, a little wooden bear holding a heart with the word family carved into it. My mom said, "This one's for you, because you made our family complete." I remember holding that ornament, feeling this huge wave of love and belonging that I'd never really felt before. At the time, I don't think it even hit me how impactful that was. How that moment defines the way I look at myself today. I was part of a loving family. I was their family. Every Christmas after that, we'd pull out that little wooden bear and hang it up first. It became our tradition. The reason I've been thinking about this memory today is because it's a reminder of how lucky I am to have the parents I do. They didn't just give me a home, they gave me a sense of belonging, and they gave me love. Even with everything that's been going on, I know that I've got something really special, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. Anyway, thanks for letting me share this. I just needed to remind myself how amazing my family is, and I hope it brings a smile to your face like it does to mine.